California lawmakers returned to Sacramento today to start hearings for Governor Newsom's special legislation on gas prices and supply.
Yeah, the governor wants lawmakers to pass his proposal that sets new rules for the oil and gas industry that he says will prevent gas prices from jumping at the pump. KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains what happened in that first hearing today.
This hearing was informational only and mainly to set the stage on the current state of the oil and gas industry in California. How are prices set and what do refiners have to go through in order to deliver gas to drivers? We saw the annual push and pull between experts, one side that says that the industry has too much power, the other side that says that the state's laws have made it harder for the industry to move and produce the fuel. Lawmakers from both parties today signaled that they do have some concerns about a potential loss of even more oil refiners if Newsom's proposal moves forward.
We don't expect people to just accept price spikes.
California lawmakers in the Assembly spent most of the first special session hearing analyzing California's oil industry.
Californians are very worried about rising prices.
The group preparing to vote on Governor Newsom's proposal that would require refiners to have backup fuel on hand in the event of unplanned maintenance or outages, situations Newsom's administration says cause price spikes at the gas pump.
When these spikes happen, it triggers profits. It's a true fact. It's not about whether the profits are wrong, right? It's just true that it's a more profitable portion of the year.
Lawmakers heard from a panel of economists and oil industry experts who noted the number of California's refineries have been cut in half over the last 2 decades as the state has moved forward with laws in favor of renewable energy instead of oil. Some Democrats scrutinized the industry's power to set pricing. Others signaled they're concerned that more refineries could shut down.
How much does this industry contribute to the livelihood of the people who work there, and also California's economy to be the 5th largest economy in the world?
I think it's really important that the state looks and questions whether the requirements and the regulations that they're putting on are necessary or are they burdensome.
Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers and some business owners warned Newsom's proposal could raise gas prices and as a result, increase costs for everyone on services and goods.
There is an ideology here and a government supermajority that is more interested in their ideology and in scoring some kind of cheap political points than to care about the very people that they say they care about.
Now, today, lawmakers did not really get into the specifics of Newsom's proposal. They plan to do that tomorrow, but they will not be voting on it until a hearing next Thursday. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Well, meanwhile, the state Senate at first refused to meet for Newsom's proposal. The leader pro tem, Mike McGuire, has said that he is waiting to see if the Assembly acts on the proposal before heading back to Sacramento.